The experience of being a leader can be incredibly disorienting. It can be lonely. It can be fearful. There's so much that comes up, and it's also really, really exciting. Each one of us in leadership positions needs as much help as we can possibly get. Hey, what's up, my friends? My name is Chad. I'm a leadership coach to entrepreneurs, company founders, and corporate execs, and this is Naked Leadership. So you found yourself in a role of leadership. Maybe you've started your own business or just had an idea or a product, and before you know it, you had people inside your organization that are looking to you for answers and to lead them to something meaningful. Or maybe you've been promoted within a larger company, and this is the first time you've been in a leadership position where you're responsible for the results of other people and yourself. Or maybe you're leading in a family or a community or a church. I don't know your specific situation, but whatever got you to click on this video, I do want you to understand, leadership is not a title. It's not a position of being above people. Leadership is the experience of causing results through other people. So even though that can be a really daunting task, I believe it's one of the most meaningful roles that we can play in life. So I want to share with you 3 books that have helped me beyond measure in my leadership roles and my leadership journey, which has been very, very messy, very eye-opening and scary, and all of the things that you're feeling right now. But these books have given me solid principles that I can use on a day-to-day basis when I'm working with other people, shoulder to shoulder, to get something done. And my guess is that at least one of these books you've never heard of before. So I'm really interested to know, if you haven't heard of one or a couple of these books, would you be willing to tell me in the comments? All right, so I'm gonna give you these books in my least favorite to most favorite. Now, having said that, all of these books I absolutely love. I've already said that, and I've learned so much from each of them, but I wanted to let you know that these are in order of least impactful to most impactful for me. So the first book I want to introduce you to is a book called 4,000 Weeks, Time Management for Mortals. It's by Oliver Burkeman. This book took me by surprise. Now, I heard Oliver on an interview on a podcast, and I was so intrigued by the way that he talked about time. I'd never heard anybody talk about time in the way that Oliver talked about it. And time management. There's all these gurus out there talking about how to time hack and how to be the most productive, all of that sort of stuff. It's a really tired, old way of talking about time. And in fact, I think a lot of that hocus pocus, time hacking, all of that sort of stuff, I believe that contributes to more burnout than it does any good for anybody. Oliver's unique approach to time is much more about how do you want to utilize your time? How do you want to be intentional about the time that you actually have? And that time doesn't equal production, and production doesn't equal time. Is time an element of production? Of course, time is an element of production, but it doesn't determine it. Like how much time you have in life or in a day or in the work week does not determine the production. And we must separate the two in order to live a sane life, especially as a leader. Because you have a lot of demands on your time, but you also have a lot of demands in production. And if those two are conflated for you, you're gonna get burnt out. And your production is gonna be very, very low, and your time is gonna be very, very short. So, to interrupt all of that conversation for yourself, please read this book. It's so good, and there's so much to think about. The next book that I encourage every new leader to read is a book called The Courage to be Disliked. It's I'm gonna butcher this, but it's a Japanese allegory, Japanese phenomenon that shows you how to change your life and achieve real happiness. That's a terrible, I think that's a terrible subline. Really what this book does, and sorry, the authors are Ichiro Kishimi and Fumitake Koga. Yeah, right. The Courage to be Disliked. This book for me is essentially all about what I'm willing to take responsibility for, what I can control. Oftentimes we take what we can't control or what other people are doing, especially in realms of leadership, and we can take responsibility for what people do and don't do. Now, I believe in full responsibility in my leadership. I believe I'm responsible for the results, but there's so much in creating those results that I can't control. And if I try to take on other people's tasks, if I try to take on their responsibilities instead of leading them in their responsibilities, I'll be overwhelmed, I'll be exhausted, I'll resent them, the relationships won't be great, and I will be trying to do everything myself. The other life-changing, mind-blowing principle that I got out of The Courage to be Disliked is this idea of hierarchy. how much we put each other in hierarchies. This person's above me, this person's below me, and what that results in is disconnection. So when you're doing that in your leadership, when you're putting people above you or people below you, it automatically creates a barrier and you can't connect in a way that's going to be meaningful for the work that you're doing. So you got to grab it. Courage to be disliked. And third, and most impactful for me overall, is this book right here, Leadership and Self-Deception, Getting Out of the Box by the Arbinger Institute. This book is written in story form about somebody who's new to a company, new to a position in a company. And the company that they come into has a tradition of bringing people into the company in a really meaningful way. And the basis of the book is helping us understand where we betray ourselves as leaders, where we betray ourselves in the relationships, both with our families and with the people who work with or for us. And when we're in self-betrayal, we're what they call inside the box. Being inside the box prevents us from making a real impact with other people and producing the results that we say we're committed to. So this book is all about how do we not self-betray? How do we get out of the box in a way that we can own our shit and be with people in a meaningful way so that we can create the results that we say we're committed to creating? I read this book about every year, and every single time I read it, I am completely convicted in the ways that I am falling short in my leadership, the ways that I'm self-betraying, the ways that I'm protecting against the people that I lead. It's always such a beautiful reminder for me to let down the guard, own my shit, and really connect to people so that I can see them for who they are, their contribution to the team, what's going on in their lives, the thoughtful and connected leader that I want to be. This book helps me be that in so many different ways. So my friends, those are the 3 books that I highly, highly recommend to any new leader or any person in leadership position at all. If you haven't read these books, please grab them, get the audiobook, whatever you have to do in order to grab the principles from these books. They will change your effectiveness as a leader. You will see higher production, you will see higher profitability, you will see higher connection and a better culture on your team if you're willing to dive into the principles and apply the principles that are outlined in these books. And of course, again, if there's any in this list that you have never heard of before, please tell me in the comments. I would love to hear that as well. If this video has created any value for you, please be willing to subscribe, like the video, and share it with somebody else who might also find value in this content. And remember, your people are counting on you.